Here's how we can do a perfect squat. Okay, so before we start, I want you to know the biomechanics is not the same for everybody. It is going to be subjective to person. Okay, some people have a longer femur, so some people's the placement of the femur in the socket is much more deeper. Okay, so that might limit their mobility. For some people, the head of the femur is slightly externally rotated, so things are going to be a little bit subjective. Okay, so how do we start? So you start with placing the feet a little bit wider than the hip. Okay, now the toes can be externally rotated somewhere between 5 to 30 degrees. Okay, so you will have to experiment and see over a period of time what posture works the best for you. The movement from bottom to top should be very fluid. Okay, so you will have to experiment and see what works the best for you. So feet is somewhere between 5 degrees to 30 degree. You will have to move it outwards and see. So for me, the optimum range is around 5 degrees. So 5 degrees outwards. Now from this position, okay, now from this position, before you start the squat, okay, before you start the squat, you should know what core bracing is. Okay, core bracing has to do with stabilizing your spine in its neutral position. If you do not know exactly how to brace the core, you can find the link to that video in the description. Okay, because maintaining the spine in the neutral position throughout the exercise is very, very important. Okay, so here's how we do it. Feet again placed a little bit wider than the hip. Now toes are turned around 5 degrees outwards. Now from here, I would suggest you can hold both the hands towards the front like this. This will give you a better sense of the balance, okay, as you squat down. So now as you squat, your feet should be fully planted against the ground. Don't let the toes come up, neither the heel shouldn't be coming up. Okay, so here's how we do it. So you hold both the hands towards the front as you squat down. So you will have to move the hip back. So here's how we initiate the squat. You will have to pull the hip back. This is a hinge movement. So you are hinging back from the hip and simultaneously bending the knees at the same time. Okay, so you hold both the hands towards the front, brace the core. Okay, brace the core as hard as you can. Now hinge the hip back like this. Hinge the hip back, squat down, and then slowly come back up. Now how low should you squat? Okay, so for this it's very important that you see yourself squatting somewhere. Okay, so if you're a beginner, you can expect there is some amount of compromise of mobility and stability and the coordination between the muscle groups involved. So what you do is you place your phone's front camera somewhere so that you can see yourself squatting. Okay, or you can, if you have access to a very large mirror, you can squat in front of that as well. So I want you to stand sideways to it. Okay, sideways to it, and assess at what point when you're squatting down your lumbar curvature, the lower back is getting destabilized. You will feel that, you can see that your lower back, your lower back has a lordosis curvature, a curvature that is moving a little bit inwards. Okay, so as you squat down, at what range that curvature is getting straightened and pushed outwards. Okay, so as soon as you start losing that curvature, okay, so that's where you are supposed to stop the range as of now. Okay, because safety comes before all. So I want you to focus on it. So this will improve over a period of time as you achieve better mobility and stability and coordination between the muscle groups. Okay, and this should improve. Some people, what happens is some people has something called as lumbar sacralization. It means after the L5 they don't have a disc, but the vertebra is fused together. For them the range is going to be limited. Okay, but it's best in your safe interest that you limit the curvature, limit the range as far as you are able to hold the vertebra in the natural position. Okay, so once again, feet wider than the hip, toes are turned outwards. Okay, you'll have to experiment with the posture and see what works the best for you. The motion both on the way down and on the way up should be very fluid. Okay, so toes outwards 5 to 10 degrees, 5 to 30 degrees. Okay, depending on your biomechanical function. So Pull back the hip, hold both the hands towards the front. Don't let the toes come up, neither you shouldn't be letting your heel come up. Hold both the hands towards the front. You pull back the hip, okay, hinge the hip backwards, maintain the curvature of the spine. Breathe in as you go down, breathe out as you come up, okay. So whenever you are exerting force, you are supposed to breathe out, okay. Release the diaphragmatic pressure. So this is how we do it. Both hands towards the front, hinge the hip back, squat down as far as you're able to, maintain the position of the spine, and then slowly come back up. Okay, so one more thing, as you squat down, your knees shouldn't be caving in like this, your heel shouldn't be getting lifted up from the side, neither should your knees, move outwards like this. Okay, the movement should be very stable, focused. It is going to take some time. You might not get this in the first try itself. Maybe it might take a few days for you to get the posture right and see what works the best for you. I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching. This is Coach Sham.